Good evening, everyone. Happy early spooky season, because that is what this is all about. It's approximately, what did I like literally just
152?
Yes, 152 days until Halloween. So we thought now would be the perfect time, especially since we just came from a Friday the 13th halfway to Halloween haunt. We thought this would be the perfect time to start talking about Halloween Horror Nights, the best haunt experience we have ever been to by far. Although there's some pretty stiff competition in our area, I will say that too. Katie's got one of our favorite brands on tonight. So if you've never been on a live stream before with us, I'm Tim.
I'm Katie.
And we do things like this
on Tuesdays.
every other Tuesday at 7:30, and that's the only time we do anything like this. The rest of the time we're vlogging. And we have been to Halloween Horror Nights only once before. So tonight's video is going to be, or rather live stream, is going to be talking a lot about what we experienced last year, but also a lot of the homework that we've been doing, because this is a very tight-knit community. And as you might expect, the first house gets announced, the speculation maps roll out, and everyone goes nuts. And we are the people who are going nuts. So we thought it would be great to get together with you guys at this halfway to Halloween junction and talk through what we're looking at for Halloween Horror Nights 31 this year, and what we can expect, what our hopes and dreams are, and kind of just take a look at what's already out there to see how that feeds into our speculation as well. So, really quick, let's pop into the comments and see who's here. Mitch, welcome, welcome. 2 tickets, Chad and Vanessa. I can't believe you guys popped in at all, because I know they're at Cedar Point right now. Yeah. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Also, congrats on getting to the 400 subscribers, right?
Yes, yes. 2 tickets to Adventure just hit 400 subscribers. Go check out Chad and Vanessa. They're good friends of ours, and they do a lot of theme park content, not just Disney and Universal and haunt content as well, but specifically right now they're at Cedar Point. So I know that vlog content is going to be coming. Skate Charlie, welcome to the party. Hey! I recognize that image, my friend.
I know that clown.
I know that clown. Welcome, welcome, my dude.
Shaking the world over here.
Katie's got her Field of Screams brand rep going on.
The local haunts are
keeping up in Disney. Damien Ari made it. Thank you. Hello, guys. Welcome, welcome. They have never been to Halloween Horror Nights, so this is going to be their trailer for Halloween Horror Nights, what we're doing right now. We must do them right.
Just went to Halloween Horror Nights for the first time
last
year.
We did. And Field of Screams going every year. Been going since 2018.
And welcome.
Welcome to the party.
You got started with haunts
young.
Way earlier than I did, so good for you, Skate Charlie.
I started watching horror movies when I was, like aggressively. I had seen like When a Stranger Calls and whatnot, like the little softcore horror movies. But I think I started aggressively watching horror when I was 13 or 14. And I will be honest with you, I was a very scarred youngster. I was easy to turn off of horror. So when I did watch horror, I used to watch it on like little YouTube windows, like this big. And I would not full screen it because I was like,
too scary.
The little white banner around the end. I was like, that's my safety blanket. But ever since, at least since we've been married, we've been going all over the place on haunts. And it's spooky season has really been kind of our favorite season of all time ever. If you watch any of our previous haunt videos, you can easily tell that we're big on spooky season.
Especially just thinking about it now because I don't know where everyone is, but currently in Maryland it's like 90 degrees and we went from like winter to summer.
We just want to get to spooky season.
So
That's
now we're
all
just
we
like
want.
fall. Come to us.
Come forth and join us. Really quick, guys, I did want to call out our socials as I always do. If you're new around here, we are The Real Tim and Katie on Instagram. We are Tim and Katie on Facebook. And we also have a website at timandkt.net.
Which is now updated.
It is. It's up to date. The Real Tim and Katie Instagram account gets pretty much everything ahead of time. So we were just at Field of Screams for our newcomer here, Skate Charlie. We were just at Field of Screams for Friday the 13th Haunt. We just put out a vlog from that not that long ago. Right now, we're beginning to leak out our California vlogs from our recent SoCal trip as well. But Instagram got the Field of Screams news first, because it always does. We always post on, well, we try to post on Instagram when we're out and about. Facebook, I've started to post pictures and videos that Instagram doesn't get, just so you guys have a reason to go there as well. And our website is a opinion area where we can just kind of put out ours. It's mostly for SEO for the vlogs, I'm not going to lie. But a lot of times if we have an opinion that we want to share and we want to write something up, we'll just shout into the void there. So you can get to know us a little bit better by checking out any of those things.
Each of our vlogs has a companion piece. Wow, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
he's gonna
really
yell at me.
at
I'm gonna just stop hitting the table with my knee.
Good. No one believes that.
I'm gonna try, guys.
Skate Charlie started with Chucky the Doll. It is CHUCKY, but points anyway for having started
Chucky
that young with something that intense.
Scary.
Chucky is scary. I'm not gonna lie, Chucky is scary. But Chucky's also hilarious, and I love Chucky.
It's true.
So, if we wanted to, we could be here all night talking haunts in general, and we totally would. We absolutely would.
And maybe one day we will.
And we will, because there's going to be, as we get into spooky season, we're going to talk more and more about spooky stuff. But for right now, since we are halfway to Halloween, and Universal Studios Orlando has just announced, and Hollywood actually, same house, have just announced their first horror house of the season. And these announcements are going to keep trickling in over the next 6 months or so. So first house was just announced the other day. We're going to be talking tonight about what we are expecting from Halloween Horror Nights 31. And we're going to be pulling a lot of resources and ideas that aren't ours, full disclosure. We did a lot of homework, we do a lot of research, but at the end of the day, we are amateurs who just go for the fun of it. So this is going to be kind of a community space where y'all can throw your ideas against the wall and see what sticks. I also do want to say, if you're not totally caught up, it's been circulated pretty widely that Stranger Things is going to be a house or a contender for a house this year. So because Stranger Things season 4 just dropped, I do want to say, let's try to keep it spoiler free for those who haven't seen it. Now, having said that, you may get, towards the end especially of this live stream, you may get the slightest, minorest, most non-plot specific detail from like episode 2, because it's something that I want to touch on really quick.
Yeah.
But we're going to stay away from anything plot. We're not going to tell you who lives and dies. So anyone who's seen it, I don't know how we've seen it, to be honest with you. We never binge anything, but we blew through it.
2-3 episodes a day.
2-3 episodes at a time, 7 episodes.
So we made it.
We made it. But please do, just for the sake of everyone else who's conversing. It's only been out for 3 days, so give everyone a chance to watch it. That's all I'm going to say. Everything else is open season as far as I'm concerned, because if you haven't seen the latest and greatest horror releases, what are you doing on this live stream? Okay. Halfway to Halloween! So this is going to be a, what's the word I'm looking for? A forum of sorts, because we don't know anything for sure. The only thing we know for sure is what Universal Studios Orlando has announced, which is one house and one house only. So what we're talking about is going to be a lot of speculation, and then we're going to talk about what we want, even if it doesn't come true. Because that's what Halloween is all about, wishing for scary things to happen and then being surprised when they don't.
Or when they do.
Or when they do. Or being surprised when different things happen. So, speculation is a big word. What feeds into the speculation for Halloween Horror Nights? Every year, the internet goes crazy with the first, for 3 months, nothing happens at Universal Orlando. I don't know about Universal Studios Hollywood, although I know they also start building houses pretty early. But for 3 sweet, blissful months for those who don't like horror, there are no mentions of Halloween Horror Nights. There are no houses being erected. But the rest of the year, we're talking 9 months out of 12, this is their biggest event. This is what they start hyping right out of the gate. They start building the houses in spring. I'm literally in March, they were starting to build houses in Universal Studios Orlando, which is insane. But it takes that long to build Hollywood lifelike sets and props and pieces, hire the scare actors, build in the effects. We're talking like cinematic scare houses. This is nothing, you can't do this in your backyard.
They're like, I mean, they're not permanent structures because they get taken down.
No, they're absolutely not. They use warehouses, but they're
built like,
they're built very, very early.
There's solid walls and stuff. If you've never been, it's really impressive.
It is the coolest thing that I think I've ever experienced out of theme parks. And that's saying something because we go to a lot of theme parks. But I will say too that because of that, because houses start being erected very early, because people can start seeing things from aerial views and they start peeking over the fences and they see things coming together, it's very hard to keep speculation under control. So Halloween Horror Nights has just started going with it and just kind of like letting whatever will get out there, and then they'll play with you on social media and see like, that could be a puppet or it could be a pumpkin. Who knows? It could be a churro stand. That's one of their favorite games to play. So what feeds into speculation? This is from Horror Nights Nightmares, which I know is a lot to fit into your mouth, but it is a really reliable resource. They are pretty much exclusively a Twitter page with the occasional post on their website and other social media. This comes directly from them. This was something they posted very, very recently, talking about specifically, I'll pull the live off, what goes into speculation and how they build their speculation maps. We're going to be looking a lot at that speculation map tonight, guys, because I know anyone who knows anything about Horror Nights knows the speculation maps are the go-to when they start planning and trying to figure out what's going to be the big hype engine this year. And I honestly believe that the speculation map sometimes influences Universal's decisions. If people see that speculation map and they're like, wow, Stranger Things! You know, like Kermit. Universal might go, well, it was gonna be Fear Street, but now it's Stranger Things, I guess. Anyway, where do you get your info from? It comes from everywhere. So they tend to do a lot of crowdsourcing. You can see question number 2 is if they heard from, or not question number 2, but question number 4 rather, is if we heard something from someone whose cousin, whose boyfriend, who whatever, babysits for the Universal CEO's kids, does that matter? And they're like, yeah, it matters. Give it to us. This information could literally come from anywhere. Maps being sanctioned by Universal themselves? Absolutely not. Universal plays into your conspiracy theories quite a bit. They love the hype, but they will never tell you anything until they are committed to telling you something. Yep. Velocicoaster, we knew Velocicoaster was coming for years. We saw it being built. We saw, like, with our own two eyes, that, like, we looked across the bay, we saw the supports going, before it was even really in coaster shape.
Like, people called it the Velocicoaster before it was named.
I'm pretty sure that we named it. Not like not you and me, but like fans, the community. I'm pretty sure that everyone was hyping, like, #Velocicoaster, and we just got it trending into the point where Universal's like, that's a good name. Yeah, why not?
We were going to call it.
They are really, really good at playing into their fans' theories. So just as a disclaimer that this is all speculation, it's coming from everywhere. But that being said, these guys, season after season, usually right on the money, which is why people go to them, which is why the speculation maps matter. So let's take a look at this current map, the expectations that we have for this year. And mind you, this is version 2. It has already changed from version 1, which was released in January. So, I don't know if we can pull us off, but we might not be in the way of anything here.
That just shows.
Just Marathon of Mayhem. We're more important than Marathon of Mayhem. So this is version 2.0 speculation map that was released a couple weeks ago. And there, if you can see that Twitter right there, this little post from Horror Night Nightmares. Their next speculation map is going to release in June. You can see there's not a whole lot happening at Universal right now, as far as they can tell.
Which I just realized June is tomorrow.
Yep.
So
yeah, this is
could
going to
all be irrelevant
soon. By the time you're done watching this live, new information.
Probably.
But, oh, hey, real quick. Walking with the Woods. It's the middle of the night for you guys, so we really appreciate you tuning in. I don't know why you bother tuning in because it's so late in the UK, but thank you so much. We still appreciate it.
Maybe we'll put them to sleep with our dulcet tones.
Yes, the hype. The hype. Okay, so you'll notice if you've never been to Halloween Horror Nights before, if you're not familiar with let's take it down to studs actually. If you've never been to a haunt before, what you're looking at typically, especially at a theme park, is going to be a couple different zones where people will wander around, scare actors, trained actors will wander around and play into a role, a theme of an area, and scare you. And that keeps kind of the ambience and atmosphere going. So at Universal, that's called scare zones. At Busch Gardens, Howl-O-Scream, I think it's called territories. Same difference, same principle. The haunted houses are the real draw of the event, though, especially at Universal. Every haunt has at least one haunted house. Every haunt worth its salt, I should say. You will rarely find a haunt that doesn't have a haunted house. But at Universal, they use sound stages. They use the actual production sets that they use for Hollywood level productions to build sets where you can walk through and you can essentially be in the Haunting of Hill House, a scene from The Mummy, like the old Boris Karloff Mummy. Not so much the British. I don't think it's that scary, although it could be. So they'll do a couple original houses, which will be straight from the imagination of their people. And then they will have IP-based houses, like Stranger Things, The Mummy vs. the Wolfman. And these IPs, intellectual properties, by the way, could be things that they own, or it could be partnerships that they make. And it's really, really fascinating to see the hype build for certain different things, especially when you know that they've done certain things before. So taking a look at this map, which we'll come back to again and again tonight, the current speculation has Stranger Things as a house, IP-based, The Horrors of Blumhouse, double IP, a combination of The Black Phone and Freaky, 2 movies from 2021 and 2022, respectively. Halloween, The Mummy vs. the Wolfman, and weirdly, The Weeknd, if you can consider The Weeknd an IP. He's a guy. He's a musician. If you don't know The Weeknd,
I can't help you.
I can't help you.
I know,
it's
like,
an easy
one
look.
song.
All you have to do is take the back E out of the word The Weeknd, and you'll get tons of
I
results.
guarantee if you Google The Weeknd anyway, you'll probably find it.
I just think of American Dad. And then, yes, Haley has picked up that there are also original houses, Dead Man's Wharf, Bug House, Underground Creatures, and The Wicked Growth 2, and El Chupacabra, which I always forget because it's on the back corner there, are forecasted as being original houses. Now, the reason that these are so much harder to predict is because these can literally be anything.
Yep.
Because they don't have to be based on the hype or the IPs. They'll literally just be based on whatever Universal, I don't know what they're called, Imagineer equivalents, come up with in the dead of night. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a house all about bugs? And
no,
then you get
the
bug
answer
houses.
is no, it's not going to be cool.
Well, last year, we had the Pumpkin Lord. Someone sat up in the dead of night and said, the Pumpkin Lord.
What's more
He
Halloween?
rules Halloween.
No one more Halloween than pumpkins.
And then they brought it, and that was Wicked Growth. And now Wicked Growth 2 is forecasted as being a new original house because Wicked Growth was so popular last year. I think they were actually a little bit shocked by how popular Wicked Growth was. Because we were in express lines last year, and we had to wait probably the longest for that house.
Yeah. But
Now, we did do that
it.
midway through the night as opposed to like right out of the gate.
Because
but-
there's like outside, there was all like that pumpkin art.
Yeah, the
and
facades
stuff.
were
It was
really, really great.
cool.
I did not know that Kaylee listened to The Weeknd.
I mean, I
Did you
feel
know that,
like
Kaylee?
there's a couple of. I probably know more songs of The Weeknd than I know. I just don't really know them that well. But I have seen some. Oh my God.
American Dad, yo.
I do know that I've seen some stuff from his music videos, and it's pretty freaky. So probably fits.
The original houses that we did last year, we ran out of time, and we were really focused on Haunting of Hill House because that was our jam. So we did that one first. We prioritized that. We prioritized Beetlejuice, and we prioritized Wicked Growth, and then everything else we did was a mop-up. But Wicked Growth and I think Case Files were the only two originals that we got to last year. So we are going to Horror Nights this year. We are going to be trying for a little bit more time on the property, getting everything. We only had one night last year, and it was a truly fantastic night with fantastic fandoms. Who hates bugs?
Don't love scary bugs either.
But this year, we are definitely going all in on Halloween Horror Nights. We are going for multiple nights. We are going on weeknights when we hope to get through them a little bit faster. And we're going fairly early in the season. It's a little bit cheaper to buy express. So all of that having been said, another thing that feeds into speculation is this guy, BioReconstruct. If you've done any kind of Disney or Universal following at all, you have probably seen something or other repurposed from BioReconstruct. This guy flies drones and helicopters over the theme park properties or knows someone that does. I don't know where he gets his shots from, but I know he's really good at posting developmental projects in progress. So he gets shots like this of the Horror Nights tents going up and things like that, which helps to feed into the speculation because you know something like Wicked Growth is not going to fit in the Fast and the Furious shed. That's a best case scenario. They close Fast and the Furious, make it a scare house. But you know from looking at certain things what kind of footprints they're going to occupy, and that will feed very much into, okay, the Haunting of Hill House is not going to fit in there. So that probably can't be right on the speculation map, right? But it could still be an IP on the map. We would just have to go somewhere else. Is it popular enough to displace this other thing that we think is going to be in this much bigger tent? And so on and so on. And it just becomes a big ball, a raging storm of Horror Nights conspiracies. That said, we have one house officially announced. The Wolfman versus Dracula versus the Mummy, Legends Collide. This is going to be at both Universal Studios Hollywood and Universal Studios Orlando, and I think it is great. First of all, the thing that I noticed right off the bat with this particular house being announced first is that the Universal, I don't think I can make this any bigger, but if you can see the Universal Monsters logo, that logo came into existence earlier this year, late last year, and it was used to stamp speculation maps on the actual Epic Universe concept art. We have it fairly widely confirmed that there is going to be a Universal Classic Monsters area, like an entire themed area in Universal's new Epic Universe Park, which is also, by the way, where I think the Monsters Cafe is going to wind up. I don't think it's going to be completely scrapped. I think they're going to move it. And I don't mean the physical building. I mean, they're going to like rebuild it and do a similar themed experience because it's very popular and it's sad that it closed. Anyway, the Universal Monsters logo was stamped onto this Legends Collide. I think that this was a very smart play on Universal's part because number one, we're already seeing again that fan concept starting to like build hype, and it comes to fruition in that they look at what people are talking about, what's trending, and they take that into consideration, and we get something like this. Now, you wouldn't think that Dracula, the Wolfman, and the Mummy would all be in the same house. Somehow they're going to make this work because they made Halloween Horror Nights icons work and put all of them in the same house. And like all the houses, by the way, have a story. So they're going to provide some narrative for this. I don't know what the narrative is going to be. You can watch the trailer for this announcement on their Twitter. I believe it's on YouTube at this point as well. And it's just kind of like a dude goes to the movies and then gets attacked by all three monsters after he says it's not that scary, which tells you nothing about the way the house is going to be laid out.
It could be nothing to do with the movie theater and the actual story.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But it's a cute way to advertise.
But I think, number one, bringing the Mummy in could be their opportunity to relaunch the Mummy ride, because it's been down for a refurb. It's a very popular ride to begin with, but it's been down for refurb for some time. We don't know what it's going to look like when it comes back out. There's been rumors that they might be removing my guy Brendan, which would be devastating.
So sad.
But if this is the Mummy that they want to sell, if they want to move it back towards Boris Karloff mummy, this could be a great way to do it by building hype that, oh no, this guy can still be scary. You go and you do his house and you tell me that he's not scary. And same with Dracula and Wolfman. This is a self-sustaining hype machine for Epic Universe, in my opinion. And it's great. It's going to be awesome. And it's honestly like the second they announced this, I was like, okay, there's going to be at least one really good house. There's going to be more than that, but we know for sure there's going to be at least one. So what comes next? Now, at this point, we're in the speculation zone. Comments welcome. Based on the past, are tropes, patterns, and reasonable expectations for the future? First of all, Horror Nights Nightmares Halloween Horror Nights 30 speculation map, which you'll see here from 2021. Almost 100% accurate. In fact, with our picture up in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, it is 100% accurate. Only when you pull us off do you see that the U-Rest area was not actually in Fear Factor Stadium. We didn't actually need that area, as it turned out, because the COVID pandemic, although it's still going on, it was not raging the way they thought it would be by this time of year. So they used that area instead for the Nightmare Fuel stage show, which actually we didn't get to see. Yep. Because we ran out of time. Everything else on this map, absolutely 100% accurate. And this was released in July, I believe, this version of the map. Now, to be fair, the 2020 pandemic did take a toll on Halloween Horror Nights 2020, which didn't happen. They had miniature scare houses, which gave you a little taste of the work that had already been done. Because again, they start doing this in March. It's got to be like halfway through production by June. So they did a little bit of a preview for The Bride of Frankenstein Lives, Revenge of the Tooth Fairy, and I believe one more, but I can't remember what it was. So we had a little bit of a confirmation that yes, these houses were going to for sure be in it.
Oh, Mitch said something.
Oh, was Creepshow not there?
I didn't remember that one, now that I'm thinking about it.
I did say we weren't experts.
No. But the rest of them I remember.
Mitch, tell us what was there instead of Creepshow, because we didn't make it all the way around the property, so I'm sure we missed one.
But we did say almost 100%.
I did say almost 100%. No, Crypt TV was a scare zone, dude. Yes, Haley is correct. Creepshow became Case Files. Yep. Okay.
Saved the day.
So
teamwork.
Everyone's a little bit right, everyone's a little bit wrong.
Which is funny because we just mentioned that we did Case Files.
We did. My eyes weren't picking it up. Yep, you're correct. You're 100% correct, Haley.
Kaylee and Mitch.
Mitch is also correct. Crypt TV was there, but it was a scare zone. And it was a good scare zone. It's probably my favorite scare zone. Okay, so we'll put it at...
Yeah. So
with the image covering, we'll put it at like 95.
Yeah. So Mitch might have been referring to the Creepshow scare zone that became Crypt TV.
Possibly. Possibly. But Creepshow is also listed as a house.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
But it was still like very, very close to what it actually was.
It was insanely close. I don't know how on earth they predicted Halloween Horror Nights captured, or the icons captured. I don't know how they predicted Welcome. Well, Scary, actually, I absolutely do know how, because that was difficult to cloak. They had the banners up and visible if you peeked over the fence. Wicked Growth, though, I don't know how they predicted that one. Because that was well offset.
Someone saw a gigantic...
I guess if you saw a massive pumpkin, but I still don't know. I mean, this information gets leaked all over the place. It's very hard to keep this contained at Universal. I'm sure team member talks to team member talks to team member. They start hiring scare actors well ahead of the season.
Right.
I mean, it starts to leak, but even so, this was early for a speculation map to be this accurate. So the moral of the story is we absolutely trust Horror Nights Nightmares with our lives. We know that they are going to get it pretty close. Not 100%, not 100% of the time, but pretty close. So we can probably trust that their speculation map this year is very accurate, if not completely accurate. Now, having said that, what else are we looking at? Intellectual properties. We took a look at the map before. We saw as many as 3 different IPs that might be playing into this year's speculation map, right? Last year, Haunting of Hill House was by far the best house, and probably the best house that
we're not biased or anything.
We absolutely are biased. But even if I take myself out of the fact that I love the Haunting of Hill House show, I would still say like the way that house was laid out. If you're into supernatural horror, let me take it there. If you're into supernatural horror, if you're into ghost stories, that was the best house, undeniably. If you're into body horror and slasher, yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I know Mitch loved Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Since he's in the comments, I'll give you your podium, Mitch. I know you love that house. That's not so much our thing. I think we would have skipped that house even if we had gotten the chance to do everything time-wise, because it's just
left it.
We are more supernatural horror fans. I don't know. I might have gone through it. I might have gone through it just to check the box. I can take the gore, but I'm more about the supernatural. I like the mystery of the unknown much more than I like the shock trauma of seeing someone's head cut off. So, getting off topic a little bit, but Halloween Horror Nights last year, they did have the Haunting of Hill House collaboration, which was so hotly anticipated, and I'm so glad they did it. Because yes, absolutely one of the best houses, if not the best house. Wait, Mitch. You're making a liar out of me tonight, man.
I didn't remember Mitch saying he loved Texas.
I swear you did, man.
He liked Case Files and Hill House and Wicked Grove.
Well, I'm glad you had a chance to defend yourself, because I would have let you go down in history
We're
as the man
sorry for spreading lies on this platform.
He also didn't love Stranger Things the year they did. That's the other thing I was going to say. Obviously, on the right-hand side, you see Stranger Things.
But they've done
the
Stranger Things
Hollywood.
Twice.
They've done Stranger Things Season 2 and they've done Stranger Things Season 1. They were many years apart. Mm-hmm. So they did hype generation for both of those. They didn't do Stranger Things Season 3, which most people don't like Stranger Things Season 3. I really do. But I also think they would have had a really hard time recreating the environment that mattered from that particular season. So there is a great deal of hype for Stranger Things Season 4, which again, we've just finished watching. I am totally behind the hype. It's a really great season. Dying until July 4th to get the last 2 episodes, but I understand why they made us wait, because those 2 episodes are like 2 hours apiece. And it would have been tough to get through it all. Time to have this live stream. So they're thinking of us. It seems to me that they're big on partnering with Netflix, which doesn't entirely... I mean, it makes perfect sense if you think about it, because Netflix does not have a theme park property. They're never going to probably... I mean, if they get one, I would be psyched to visit Netflix Land. But until Netflix Land is a thing, they don't really have a place to use their IPs in a way that they can cash in on physical experiences. So they partner with Universal, Comcast, Universal, NBC, all of the many different names that Universal goes by. And that conglomerate absorbs theme park rights for these types of IPs. So Netflix has a lot of different horror-based stories, narratives to pull from this year in particular, because last year a lot of the horror stuff came out after Halloween Horror Nights. So they have last year's fall hits and they have this year's spring hits, which of course includes Stranger Things. I think it's a given that we're going to see a Netflix house. I don't know for sure that it's going to be Stranger Things, but I feel very strongly that it is. So you can take that as you, with a grain of salt, I guess. It's all speculation. Yeah, you can take that and run with it, or you can think that I'm an idiot, and I might be. They also do have Blumhouse. Mitch is correct. Universal is the parent organization for Blumhouse.
Yeah, they've partnered with Blumhouse or have done Blumhouse houses.
Welcome back, Skate Charlie.
Hey, hope dinner was good.
So, when it comes to IPs, you're going to see a minimum of 3 houses, because Universal knows this is what draws people in, right? You can go to Busch Gardens, SeaWorld's Howl-O-Scream down the street or down the road in Tampa, and you can get some pretty good houses. I'm not going to lie. They're not going to be like astronomically high budget houses, but they're going to be good. And, you know, places like Field of Screams also have some amazing houses that are well worth checking out. But these places typically have exclusively original content that doesn't buy into IPs, because it's very, very, very expensive to buy theme park and attraction rights for IP. Universal has that money. Disney has that money too, but they are committed to the family-friendly ideals, and so they can't lean into horror.
Mickey's
the way
very,
Universal
very scary Halloween party.
Mickey's 18 plus Halloween party. So Universal will really lean into these IPs. You will see a minimum of 3 houses, guaranteed, sometimes 4. But I think that the Netflix partnership is a done deal. They're going to have a Netflix house every year.
Literally when Hill House went on the speculation map last year, we were like, okay, when are we going?
Yeah, that was literally what made us go.
Yeah.
Because we were like,
we've always wanted to go.
Halloween Horror Nights happens every year. And every year, at least as long as we've been together and traveling together, we have gone to haunts every Halloween spooky season. And it's always been on the bucket list to go to Halloween Horror Nights. But what finally got us there? Haunting of Hill House. Because that is our show, man. That is what we went crazy over when it dropped. I binged I never binged anything. You guys cannot possibly understand the level of hype that I had for the show, because I never binge. I like to watch an episode, pay very close attention to detail, think about it overnight, go back and watch another episode. Haunting of Hill House, I could not stop. I was up until 4 o'clock in the morning, having to go to work at 6 o'clock in the morning the following day, watching Haunting of Hill House and being like, one more. Just one more. I'm sure they won't leave me on a cliffhanger this time. Every episode leaves on a cliffhanger. Every single one. Mitch says, Blumhouse is usually okay. It's usually a poor movie selection. I actually have something to say on this as well. So, actually, I think I'm going to save that to the end, because there is some speculation that I'm going to do at the end that I think is going to roll into that. I agree with you, Mitch. Blumhouse movies are not always top tier, but they are pretty easy to get into if you're a horror fan. You can sit and you can watch, and they're not awful, but they're not astronomically good. True. With the exception of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a lot of the Universal houses do lean on a little bit more jump scares and gore, which for us works great.
I mean, I have a hard time picturing any haunted house that doesn't lean on the jump scares a little bit.
A little bit. But well, I know of some haunted houses out in California that are just way too
okay, well that's a different beast altogether.
That's like a psychological nightmare type. There are different tiers of Halloween horror houses that I think we're safely in the middle range, where we can handle a little bit more intense, we can enjoy a little bit less intense, but we're not way up there.
I'm not gonna let someone put real bugs on me and see how long I last, that kind of stuff.
That's Fear Factor. That's what Fear Factor was all about. You missed the Fear Factor era. Get into it. All right, original concepts. Once the IPs are the money for the IPs is all spent, what's left? Case Files Unearthed, which I can't believe I forgot about because I had edited the slideshow. Case Files Unearthed was one of 2 original houses that we got to experience last year. And this was honestly, this was our bonus round. This is when we said, you know what, we may not get to 4 houses because it's really, really busy. We went on Saturday night, even with express passes, we were starting to burn out. We were like, I don't know if I want to do a whole nother house, but then Case Files was right there. And we were like, well, that was kind of the one we were sort of half interested in. Let's go try that one out and see what it's like. It was awesome. Mm-hmm. It was fantastic. And I truly think that the other original horror houses were definitely just as good, if not better. But Case Files really captivated us. There was a narrative story about a detective who was experiencing supernatural things and extraterrestrial things.
There was a whole timeline.
And you were following his story. And it was so cool. There were typewriter words being tapped out on the wall, and the narration was following you through everywhere. It really does feel like you're in the middle of the movie. So the original houses, the bottom line here, is that they can be just as good as any kind of IP.
And don't sleep on them.
Yeah. I would honestly love to see some of the original concepts for Halloween Horror Nights transferred into a movie or a show. Because I think that Universal has the ability to do that. If they see something, if Wicked Growth turns out to be the most popular original house in the last 10 years, I don't know if it is, I don't have those metrics, I can't prove anything. But if it does, and if they do Wicked Growth 2, there's no reason they can't do Wicked Growth, Realm of the Pumpkin, the movie, and release it to opening night crowds in the thousands. You know, like this is how good Universal is at putting things together.
Creativity. I'm just doing all this fun stuff. Imagination.
Yep, they are absolutely on the ball with their original houses. With the original houses, you will usually see a backfill. So anything that doesn't get covered by IPs, they usually have 8 houses. So a minimum of 4 houses will go to original concepts. Now, every once in a while, they will do 7 houses. If they're, for right now, example, they're in the middle of repurposing Shrek 4D, or the remains of Shrek 4D.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. One love, not forgotten. So that eventually, we're pretty sure is going to be a Minions attraction. Do we need another Minions attraction in Universal? Debatable, but it's happening, whether we like it or not. Now, the thing of it is, the backstage areas for Shrek used to be a Horror Nights house every year. That's actually where Case Files was last year. So what are they going to use that space for? Are they going to be able to use that space? Are they going to be able to do 8 houses this year, or are they going to do 7? I think that it's probably going to be the former. I think they are going to do 8 houses, but one might be smaller than usual. So we can count on a minimum of 4 houses with original concepts. Might not be 5. We shall see. And one might be the weekend, which is somewhere between original and IP. Any speculation so far?
I mean, we've got that coming up later, don't we?
Okay. You want to hold?
Oh.
I'm soliciting from the Peanut Gallery as well.
Yeah. Feel free to drop what you want to see or what you think is coming.
Yeah, we are coming straight down towards our speculations and wish lists. So feel free to drop comments.
I'm getting the sense from you, Charlie, that you are way braver than I am, even now. I don't know if I'd ever call a haunted house I've been to intense.
There have been some intense houses that we've gone through, but some are intense because of triggers.
Yeah.
For example, if you're claustrophobic, Field of Screams can be kind of rough on you house-wise because they have the Den of Darkness, which is you literally crawl on your hands and knees through a very tight crawl space. And at some point in the other house, you're going through like inflated pillows. Nothing innately scary about working your way through dark inflated pillows, unless you're claustrophobic, in which case it's a huge trigger and everything is driving you nuts about that experience. So on and so forth. There are things that will trigger certain people more than others, and we definitely recommend you know your limits and you know what you're into and you know what you're comfortable with. You try to be brave. I would say if you're going to go to a haunt, especially if you're going with perhaps braver friends, try your best to experience what the haunt has to offer and see if you can make it through a scare house or 2. But if something is like outside of, like well outside of your comfort zone, you know you're not big on gore, you know that house is going to be full of gore, don't feel like you have to do it.
And one thing about Halloween Horror Nights in particular that may be different from like a local place is
there's a range?
There's someone in front of you and behind you like all the time.
Oh yeah,
they don't really let in like groups of 2 or 3 at a time. So if you're worried about someone sneaking up behind you, I mean, there will be someone behind you, but
you're all in it together.
They're in it with you.
In it. So at Universal, Katie makes a good point. At Universal, they have to get thousands of people per night through each house. Thousands. The only way they can do that is if there's a constant stream of motion, conga line merging fast lane, express lane with standard queue. The only time you stop is when express lane moves forward. Once you're in the house, you're all moving together and they will keep you moving. They will constantly have people on the corners being like, come on, come on, come on. So you don't feel like you're in it alone, but that doesn't make it any less scary. Halloween Horror Nights is really good at driving up that exponential level of terror. Excuse me. But they got the crawl for the last 2 years. They didn't get the crawl. Oh no!
Aww.
Is that at Field of Screams?
No,
or
it
that's
was
at
at the 17-door one.
That makes sense.
They'll probably bring it back. Maybe they're just giving people a break.
Oh no, he
from
was
it.
talking about Field of Screams.
Oh.
So just to be clear, that was in the Den of Darkness. We have been 2021 for 2 events and 2022 for the for off-season event. No, 2 off-season events. So we've been 4 times together. I think I've crawled every time. but don't quote me on that. Field of Screams is also always evolving its haunt. A good haunt will keep things changing season by season.
Whatnot. How about a house that ends at Pluto's part? That is Tim's nightmare.
That's my trigger right there. Dunk me in water, I'm done. I'm out. I'll be like, nope, that house is not for me. All right, so we're coming down the home stretch towards our actual speculations here. Following the clues, I am going to go full new rock stars on you people with my conspiracy theories here. Are you ready? This is why I think Stranger Things. This picture is from season 3. I'll grant you, okay, it's not a new picture. If you're not caught up on Stranger Things, I don't think this is a big spoiler. But I will say, this is the season that they didn't do a house, right? Season 3 was the year that they didn't do a Stranger Things house because it would have been, again, because of the content of the season, I think it would have been too much to manage. But do you notice anything in the background cleverly highlighted by myself? This Endless Summer poster is from a documentary about surfing. It is not in and of itself anything directly tying one thing to another, to another, to another, but, and I couldn't find a picture of it. I went back through and I scrubbed through every single frame of season 4, trying to find what I know I saw with my own 2 eyes. And I literally just like, I should have bookmarked the actual moment in my mind, which episode it was, because I couldn't find it in time. It's there. If you go back and you watch season 4, if you have already watched it, if you haven't watched it, start watching it. It's amazing. It's there. In season 4, there is a Endless Summer 2 poster on Max's wall, somewhere in the early episodes. If you find it, shout me out. I know it's there. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. Now, the only reason I think this is relevant is because the Endless Summer 2 poster shares a font with something else, which you may have seen before. Does that look familiar to you? Look, we'll go back and forth. Boop, 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 boop. I know it's a stretch. But this is, so the Duffer Brothers do have a relationship with Universal. When they came in to do the 2 Stranger Things houses that they've done, they have had some kind of directorial or producer oversight on what's going into those houses. So it is my belief that they are tricksy enough to put in little Easter eggs that tie things back to the properties that they want to use. Again, the Endless Summer and the Endless Summer 2 are surfing documentaries that could mean absolutely nothing, could also mean something. And that's what conspiracy theories are all about. It is a stretch. I get it. It's a stretch. It's a stretch. But it doesn't make us wrong. And I should say it doesn't make me wrong, because Kate had nothing to do with that theory. She thought I was a madman and a lunatic for putting it in the slideshow, but there it is. Yes. You can also enjoy Halloween Horror Nights just showing up and letting whatever happens. That's another way. That's usually what I do in the end. I just like to play along with the speculation game and do a little bit of detective work on it, which is what we're all about.
We are committed to going this year.
We are committed.
No matter what pops up on the map.
We're going.
We're going.
Here's another thing. Ready? So Horror Night Nightmares we've already talked about. They are the speculation crown prince of Halloween Horror Nights. Their speculation maps are almost always at least partially accurate. So they put The Weeknd on their speculation map, and immediately everyone's like, The Weeknd is a musician and in no way related to any kind of horror anything, and this is what they posted in response. But The Weeknd isn't horror, with the whole like SpongeBob troll. And then you see these couple different screen grabs from Weeknd horror style music videos, which, to be honest with you, a little bit scary. I'm not gonna lie.
Pretty creepy.
They're a little bit creepy. So I would believe, okay, maybe a scare zone, something like that. This isn't in and of itself anything to go on. Except that The Weeknd himself, not 10 minutes later, retweeted this thing for no apparent reason, added a knife and googly eyes. And you know what googly eyes means. If you've ever sent a text message with googly eyes, you know what you're implying. I feel like The Weeknd himself just confirmed some kind of collaboration. But of course, everyone feels that way, because this is what Universal does. They drive you insane all season with all the different things that could happen. They pay attention to what people want to happen, and then they're like, is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? Is it going to be this? Oh, you got to be quicker than that. I turned into the Geico guy. Anyway, this is all speculation. These are my two like loose conspiracy theories where I'm like, okay, something is going on. I think it's almost for sure that we're getting a Stranger Things. Not necessarily because of the Endless Summer. I just thought that was, if anything, a neat little Easter egg and something to feed my own conspiracies. But because Netflix has an existing partnership with Universal, Stranger Things doesn't have its own IP theme park vehicle. It can't get those things out any other way. And the Stranger Things houses have been very, very popular. Even if, I know Mitch said he didn't like them, but Stranger Things is a very popular IP. And the houses at Universal have been very, very popular for the last several years. So I think it's very likely that they're going to get some kind of Stranger Things collab this year to celebrate season 4. Especially with season 5 now having been announced as the final season, this could be a great tie-in to whatever the Duffer Brothers want to push for their final season, get people hyped. Or it could be just blissful nostalgia for everyone who really enjoys season 4. All of this will happen after the July 4th or July 1st premiere of the final 2 episodes of Volume 4. So whatever happens in season 4 will be wrapped up by the time of Halloween Horror Nights. And we will almost certainly have an announcement in July for a Stranger Things house if they're going to do one.
Yeah.
So keep a weather eye on the horizon there. Now, having said all of this, our wish list looks slightly different. Not too different, but slightly different. Be aware that the speculation maps are evolving, they do change, and the earlier drafts of the speculation map, they did have something else on them as well, which I will touch on. So this is our wish list of things, and Katie and I sat down and we had a good heart-to-heart last night about what is on our wish list. If we could have anything in the world, what would we want to see at Halloween Horror Nights? And this is mostly IPs because that's mostly where, if I was to like just throw out, I want to see more vampires at Halloween Horror Nights, that could be a scare zone. Nobody cares. But
I mean, we are getting Dracula.
We are getting Dracula. That was just throwing that out as an
know.
example. But this is, properties that we've seen in the last couple of years that could be very, very good houses that would be interesting to see. Going back to what Mitch said about Blumhouse and combining the two properties, The Black Phone and Freaky, both released in 2021, 2022, somewhere in between. I don't think either one of these films is so good. I have seen them. I don't think either one is so good that they can support a house on their own. I also don't think that the two of them can be woven together cleverly in a narrative that makes any kind of sense. Now, they don't have to do that. It doesn't have to make sense. It could just be a monster mashup of a million different scenes. But Universal likes to do things well. If they're going to do it well. So I think of all the things on the speculation map, the Blumhouse Presents house, as it stands now, if they add more properties, maybe, but as it stands now with these two properties, I think this is the weakest prediction. I think this is probably the one that's going to drop out, if anything. Now, I would like to see more Blumhouse properties because there are decent ones. Freaky's not bad. Black Phone's not bad. But together, they could be a little bit better. So add like 5 or 6 more.
That's a big
5 or 6. The Blumhouse is under Universal, though. It's not like they have to scramble to get characters.
No. I just meant in terms of like a cohesive house.
All right, add 2 more.
Yeah.
Have a minimum of 4. A minimum of 4 properties from Blumhouse Presents. Or do it as a scare zone. I could see this being a very good scare zone, the Freaky scare zone. This could be well executed. But for this to be a proper house, my wish list would have them adding a bunch of different properties. I don't think this house is going to happen as projected. This is the one thing that I feel is maybe a little bit off. Mitch, Happy Death Day is a masterpiece. The house, I never got to experience the house. So you might be right that it was a meh house, but I would be probably so psyched on Happy Death Day being a house that I wouldn't. Beetlejuice was a meh house in many ways.
In terms of scares, but in terms of like
it was very
overall
thematic.
Impressive theming.
It depends what you're into. It really does. It really does. So this, again, is just our wish list. It's not necessarily reflective of what Universal will actually do. which brings me to Scream. Scream 2022 or Scream 5, because 6 is in production right now. We love the Scream movies. We've watched them all. And this was the one I dragged Katie to the theater to see Scream 5 because I was like, I'm not missing the return of Sidney Prescott in the theaters. That's not going to happen. Scream 4 does not deserve all the hate it gets. It deserves a little bit of hate, but honestly, it's pretty good. Scream 5, I think, was probably about the same. Scream 1 and I would say 3 are masterpieces. I would love to see Scream make a return to Universal. It's been done before.
Yeah.
It's not totally off the table.
They've
done a Scream house. So I think that this would be a really great way to kind of pay tribute to the fact that this movie actually did very, very well for the pandemic. I think it was the top earning horror title of the year, which it came out in January. So I guess they're rolling that into 2022. It could be topped, but at the time, marketed as the top horror performer, and it did well enough on a cheap enough budget that they're already in production on Scream 6. Super excited because Hayden Panettiere is coming out of retirement to do the role for Scream 6. Anyway, this would be a great house. That's all I have to say on the subject. Mitch agrees with me that it would be a great house. Welcome back, Skate Charlie. Someone tried. Now that is the problem with Scream, is that it can encourage bad behavior because it's a movie all about encouraging bad behavior. But it's not the theater's fault, and it's not the production's fault. It just happens. Sometimes people suck. It's a sad reality.
For everyone.
Sad reality. That does not take away from the fact that I think Scream would make a great house. Now this is an interesting one. This one on my speculation. I don't even think I told you that this one on my speculation.
Yeah, you did. You
or my wish list.
Play.
Oh yeah. Okay. So in Speculation Map version 1, there was a property on that list, an IP that was not from a movie. It was The Last of Us, which is a video game, very popular horror style video game. And that house could have been great, and it still might, because we don't have confirmation for sure that it's out of the running. But it got me thinking. That was pulled off when we got Speculation Map 2.0. Looks like we're probably not getting that house. Maybe not. But it got me thinking, if video game, why not Dead Space? Because this game, if you're unfamiliar, imagine Event Horizon, and I guess if you're familiar with horror, but not video games, imagine Event Horizon crossed with The Walking Dead. And you basically get this. If you're unfamiliar with horror as an entire platform, imagine being trapped in a space shuttle that's like supersized, like a floating mall, and then having zombies constantly come out of the woodwork and try to kill you in the dark with no warning. And that's Dead Space. The reason I think this game would be great should be pretty straightforward for anyone who's actually played it. But the reason that I think it's possible is because Dead Space is actually doing a re-release or remaster of the original game in early 2023, which if Universal and EA, or whoever owns EA now because it got absorbed, decided to pair up and say we're going to cross-promote, this could get a lot of people hyped about that remaster, and you could get a lot of people buying up the property, which is ultimately the goal of the Halloween Horror Nights houses, is to supercharge an IP, get people buying tickets to the event, yes, but then also get people buying tickets to the movie or going and buying physical copies or digital copies and so on and so forth. So this, I think, is just as likely as any kind of other house that has an IP. Yeah. House Dead. Yeah.
Well, their House Dead exposure. I guess they had a previous Halloween Horror Nights house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's what's the word I'm looking for? It's viable. It's easy to execute. Well, not easy, but it's easy for Universal to execute. I think it is doable, and I think it would be a good year to do it. Now, do I think it's going to happen? No, absolutely not. I think the video game idea came off the roster with The Last of Us. I don't think we're going back to that. Still could be wrong, but I don't think it's going to happen. So that's just my wish list item. Would love to see it happen somewhere. Talking about the more probable things on our wish list, Fear Street was awesome all the way through. I really wanted to see this made into a house, and up until Stranger Things announced its release dates, I thought this was a sure thing. As did Horror Night Nightmares, by the way, because this was on speculation map 1.0
1,
was
yeah.
Fear Street. And I was so pumped because Fear Street, it's a trilogy, so it's 3 movies, all on Netflix. This could have been their Netflix collaboration. Netflix is already in it for the long haul. We know they do work with Netflix. This could have been phenomenal. I don't think it's going to happen now. I would be very pleased to be wrong. If it I think this is probably much more likely than Scream or Dead Space or any of the other things we've mentioned. But if they do 2 Netflix houses, it would be a first. Not necessarily impossible, but it's a lot of money to buy an IP from Netflix to do a horror house when you know that they're probably going to do Stranger Things. So I don't think this is going to happen, but I would love to see it because I feel like this is between the 3 movies, there's a lot of rich scenes that could be well translated into a scary set that you could walk through. You haven't seen them.
No.
But I have hyped them. So eventually you might
maybe this season.
This might be the season. I mean, if we were really doing...
Sometimes he pre-screens things and then lets me know if it's going to be
too much or
not.
It's love, Fear Street. I remember talking about...
I know it has Max from...
It does. Yep, Max is the main character of the second film. It's also got... Is it Jillian or Gillian Jacobs? I don't know, but it's her.
I think
from
it's Gillian Jacobs.
Gillian Jacobs. I love her too. Yeah, and it's got, in the very first movie, it's got Robin from Stranger Things.
Yeah, she dies though, right?
Spoilers!
Sorry.
Spoilers! We said no spoilers, and then you're spoiled.
I'm sorry.
But that's actually probably not the worst transition ever into what I think is probably a pretty accurate projection and minorest of minor spoilers for Stranger Things season 4.
So
this is, we're going to give you a character's name. The character is in episode 1, so it's not like a crazy, like, out the wall spoiler.
Yeah.
But I do think, having said that, spoiler warning, clear the room. I do think that Vecna's house in the Upside Down would be a baller Horror Nights experience. Is walking through the mansion, which they've never had a creepy haunted house on Stranger Things up until this point, was a point that Katie made.
Yeah, that's where I'm really digging this season.
She saw like the clock and the stairwell and the, there's a lot of things from season, even just volume 1. There's been a lot so far that could make for a really great Horror Nights house. So I would really, if we're going to do Stranger Things, I am all in on Vecna and everything that they could do. I think that the Pumpkin Lord gave off some very Vecna vibes last year, so I think it's very possible.
And there's a lot of there's visual and there's also auditory things that happen in this season that if you heard in the house,
you would know.
Be like, oh, it's coming.
I think it's a done deal.
Yeah,
I think it's a done deal that Stranger Things 4 is going to happen because it's just so big right now, and rightfully so. It's very good. I am sad to lose Fear Street.
Well, it doesn't mean Fear Street will never show up because Hill House was released in 2019.
It's true. If they find a way to do both,
it could be Fear Street next year.
Fear Street 2.0. I also would love to see Wicked Growth. That's on the current speculation map, and I think it is just as probable as any other original house. They have done houses dedicated to the Horror Nights icons in repeated fashion. That's the closest I think we've come to having a sequel on an original house. Mitch might be able to correct me, or anyone who's watching this who has been to Horror Nights for 30 years. But for the brief period and the research that we did, I think this is the closest they've ever come to talking about doing a proper sequel to an original house. And I would be stoked for it because this is one of the best houses we've ever been in, across the board. But definitely, I would say Wicked Growth, that's on my wish list. We're going to go in the original house direction and do some sequels.
I love pumpkins.
I would be down. Anything is possible. Discount nothing. Hype everything. That's why Endless Summer. That, fam, is why Endless Summer. So this has kind of been our thought process on the speculation thus far. This is where we've been occupying all of our thoughts. I think that the speculation map that they released early on this year, version 2.0, almost. There's probably a faster way to get it. This is probably going to be pretty accurate. Again, I would not necessarily expect to see the horrors of Blumhouse as it is right now, but they may very well do Blumhouse and do a combo of some sort. It just might not be the Black Phone and Freaky, or at least not exclusively the Black Phone and Freaky. Wicked Growth 2, I think, is just as likely as any of the other houses, and I would be super stoked on it. The Mummy vs. Wolfman has been confirmed, so this was released before that was confirmed. Now it is confirmed. We're getting a new spec map in June, which is right tomorrow. I was going to say around the corner. It's tomorrow. So we should be able to get a little bit more information on all of these houses in the near future. I would say of everything here, the ones that are most likely to drop out, Blumhouse, as it is in its current state, unless it evolves, and Halloween. Believe it or not, I think Halloween is probably one of the first ones to go because it's been done. It's been done too many times. And Universal, although they will lean into IPs that they know work, I don't think Halloween, is it Halloween Kills or Halloween Forever?
I think it's Halloween Kills was the one that just came out.
It didn't do so terribly well that everyone is hyping it up the same way they're doing for Stranger Things. Which, I mean, not every property is going to do that.
So they should replace it with Scream.
I don't see Scream coming. I don't.
I know.
But I think that this is a pretty this speculation map is going to be pretty accurate. So keep an eye on that, on Horror Night Nightmares in particular, because they will start to release more and more speculation maps as we get closer and closer. And in time, we'll see that they are usually pretty on top of everything. So our socials tonight, we usually do a creator shout out for all the different channels that inspire us, that we want to support. We're not going to go away from that by any means because we got so many other friends and inspirational channels that we want to acknowledge. But this week, because of the theme of the presentation, I wanted to highlight some of the different accounts that you can follow to get in on the speculation and help to feed this hype machine. Horror Nights Orlando is the official Halloween Horror Nights account for Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Orlando. Universal Studios Hollywood has its own account, and they are two different parts. They have a lot of overlap because Universal, when they acquire one IP, they'll carry that IP as far as they can. But Hollywood has some flexibility and some limitations that Orlando does not, and vice versa. So they plan around what they have. So Halloween Horror Nights Orlando, well, at Horror Nights or RL. ORL. I'm having a stroke. I think that is probably going to be like the most reliable for obvious reasons. The official Universal Orlando account that's running Horror Nights. You go follow that. You will be in on the latest and most breaking news in the industry. So definitely follow that. HN Nightmares. I don't know why they insist on spelling things this way. That hashtag, that is where you're going to get all the speculation maps. So they will publish everything that they think is most likely. That's where our speculation maps for this year came from and last year. And they get more and more accurate the closer you get to the event. So if you want to get an early lead and get in on the conversation that might inform your Horror Nights experience, HN Nightmares on Twitter is the best place to go. Last good place to go is going to be BioReconstruct, which does aerial photography of all the theme parks. They don't just do Halloween Horror Nights, they also do Disney. So you can see, if you're big on the Epcot transformation, you can see the Moana coming together, the Journey of Water, the center of Epcot. They're really, really good at piecing together the different fragments and figuring out where the different things are going to land. BioReconstruct gives you kind of a visual to match with HN Nightmares theory. And you can kind of see where that might go there, but that's not going to go there. And it helps to kind of inform your own opinion. So, all of that having been said, I think we are out of speculation at this
Although
time.
Mitch did put in a bid for Ghostbusters again in Halloween Horror Nights.
I can't tell if it's a bid or an actual speculation.
Well, I don't know. I will just say that I would love to see
I would be down to see
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. If Ghostbusters Afterlife became the property of the year, I would be down for that too. That was, guys, if you haven't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife and you were a fan of the first two, you are doing yourself a tremendous disservice. It is so good. It is probably the best sequel I have ever seen.
I would say, especially like one of those sequels that is a long time coming.
Yeah.
Very satisfying.
Faithful to the original too. Also, keeping them in Disney, Jamie and Arnie said they had to jump for a bit. They sadly missed the stream, but you can catch the recap. Don't worry, guys. You can catch the recap, and you can also follow those accounts and be part of the speculation conversation. Because the hype is going to get realer and realer as we get closer.
I'll speculate that I'll be there at least 2 times. Oh, that would be awesome.
2 times a week,
so
every
jealous.
time a week. Andy is all in on the Ghostbusters house. Thanks for popping in there. Alrighty. So, next installment, as we call them in this lovely live stream series, we're diverting back from horror and going back towards some of the stuff that we focus on the rest of the year, which are things like Disney, theme parks, other things like that. We recently did our first Run Disney race, half marathon. It was probably the greatest physical achievement of our lifetimes. I don't see us topping it because we're not going to run a marathon. That was an incredible experience, though, and if you haven't seen that vlog, please do check it out. We poured our heart and soul into that video. It's probably my favorite one that we've done, even though some of it doesn't look the best. You can feel the hype engine of Run Disney, and that's kind of what we wanted to talk about in our next installment, was what to expect from the Run Disney races. And we may or may not have some special guests coming on to talk about their experiences with Run Disney as well. We don't want to promise that yet, but we're pretty sure. We speculate.
Yes, we're speculating.
Guys, definitely do try Halloween Horror Nights. If you've never been, you have to go. Even if you just go one time and you're like, not for me, it is truly like it is the top tier horror experience in the Northeast. Well, sorry, not the Northeast, the Southeast. We're in the Northeast, so I keep thinking every time we go someplace it's in the Northeast, except for Halloween Horror Nights. That's how good. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I know this was a shorter one, so I hope no one's disappointed, but we had so much to get off our chests, and you were the perfect crowd because we got it all off. If you do have any speculations of your own, feel free to drop a comment. Just because the stream is done doesn't mean the video is going away. You can always drop a comment, and even if it doesn't make it into this stream, it might very well make it into the next one. We are always trying to talk with our community, so we love chatting with you guys. Thanks so much for having us. I've been Tim.
I'm Katie.
And every day
is a new adventure.
We will see you next time on with the speculation.